Let me ask you something. Has the seed of an idea ever come into your mind that you thought you might like to pursue? Something you want to write or build or draw? Maybe an app you want to design? Maybe a painting or a poem? Maybe you want to start a new business. Did you push that idea aside thinking, no, I don't have the time or money to take on such a thing? Or maybe somebody else should do that, not me? Or did you say yes? Nature has a brilliant way of nurturing ideas. Inside each one of those acorns is the idea of a tree. And like those acorns, your ideas want to flourish and grow. I think we reject our ideas without considering the ripple effect they might have on the world. American author and essayist Ralph Waldo Emerson said, "The creation of 1,000 forests is in one acorn." Your one idea might inspire so many others, but you'll never know if you don't say yes. It would be easy to say no to creative ideas because they seem too big or overwhelming. I get that. I felt the same way the day I discovered a fascinating but very obscure 20th century furniture maker and thought, somebody should make a documentary about that guy, not thinking it would be me. So today I want to share with you how an acorn by the name of Wharton Esherick came into my life and how that acorn became a film. Wharton Esherick was an artist and furniture maker who came of age during the Industrial Revolution. At a time when America was enamored with consumerism and mass industry, Wharton moved to a small farm outside Philadelphia, Pennsylvania, and began making handcrafted furniture, one piece at a time. By saying yes to wood, Wharton became one of the forefathers of the American studio craft movement, which is a style characterized by independent artists making handcrafted pieces in their home studios. If you've ever bought anything on Etsy, you owe Wharton a thank you. I discovered Wharton's studio in the winter of 2013. It was one of those magical moments when you know you're about to experience something truly extraordinary. You want to see inside? Yes. It's very quiet there. Light flows in from every angle. Standing among his sculptures, his beautiful furniture and ephemera, I could feel Wharton's presence. I was truly awed by his creativity. After the tour, I kept staring at the studio. It reminded me of the tree fort I built when I was a kid. It wasn't that cool. But my tree fort was my haven. It was the place that I could hide from the world and play and dream about the future. Again, the idea came to me that somebody should make a documentary about this guy. And even though I'm a filmmaker and I felt a kind of affinity with Wharton, I didn't think I was the right person to tell his story. I'm not a woodworker. I know nothing about furniture making, nothing about craft culture. And how would I produce it? I live in California. I have a full-time job. And where would I get the money? So when the idea came to me, of course I said no, wouldn't you? Still, his creativity called to me. And I thought, okay, Wharton, I don't know why you picked me, but I'll tell your story. So in the spring of 2014, I said yes. I felt like a linear retelling of Wharton's life would be an injustice, because mostly Wharton designed pieces that were patterned after nature in what's called his organic style. When asked how he could create these beautifully shaped pieces, Wharton would say, "The wood told me." Wharton listened to the wood and let it guide him. That feeling of the idea coming through you is something a lot of creative people say they feel while working. In the same way the acorn has to release itself to nature to become a tree, you have to release yourself to the creative process. Wharton listened to the wood and let it guide him. I decided to take the same approach to the film. I listened for Wharton's story, believing it would guide me. And this is what I heard. Wharton Esherick wanted to be a painter, a profession he pursued for over a decade without success. In fact, he discovered wood by carving frames for his paintings and thought he had a talent for it. His wood carvings gave way to wood sculptures and eventually wood furniture. And by the late 1920s, furniture making became his full-time profession. By saying yes to wood, Wharton was finally able to express himself as an artist. One of his first pieces was made for a local theater group, where he also designed stage sets and made these ingenious chairs, which were fashioned entirely out of hammer handles. During the Depression, Wharton was able to support his family by making pieces for clients in the Philadelphia area. In 1940, he designed a room for the New York World's Fair, which featured a number of his signature pieces and was seen by over 44 million people. In the late 1950s, the Museum of Contemporary Craft hosted a major show of Wharton's work, ultimately recognizing him as the Dean of American Craftsmen. Wharton passed away in 1970, leaving behind a legacy of not only beautiful wood furniture, but also a dedication to a unique design for living that would influence hundreds, if not thousands, of other makers. Today, Wharton is considered one of the most influential woodworkers of the 20th century, all because he listened to the wood and said yes. It took me 3 years to gather all the materials I needed to tell Wharton's story. From the museum archives, I scanned hundreds of photos. I listened to hours of oral histories and transcribed a number of old recordings. It was a lot of work. But it was fascinating work, and a number of people helped me along the way. My first editor had to back out for personal reasons, and when that happened, I was kind of stuck, really. I didn't know what to do. She had been with me throughout the production, and she knew all the footage, and we'd already decided how to approach the edit. So at this point, I really needed an influx of cash to pay a second editor to work with me. So I launched a Kickstarter. I made a promotional video about Wharton and how I needed money to finish the film. And to my surprise, a number of backers came forward and supported the film, ultimately accruing enough money for not only the edit, but also music and sound design and special effects. Editing any film is a labor of love, but cutting a documentary is really a special kind of patience. We had over 40 hours of material we were trying to cut into maybe like a 60-minute film. And it's like a big puzzle that's sometimes really frustrating. That you kind of want to give up sometimes. And there was a certain point where I kind of had enough of Wharton Esherick. But the next day I'd get up and work out another part of the story, and that would finish another piece of the film, and after several months, the film was cut. At that point, I could begin working with composers to do the music, and sound editors to do the sound design, and a graphic designer to do animated sequences. At last, the film premiered this fall at the Barnes Foundation, a museum in Philadelphia, Pennsylvania, where we hosted a panel discussion about Wharton Esherick and the making of the film. So, getting back to my original question, has the seed of an idea come into your life? And if so, what did you say? Yes. I think people get caught up in comparing their ideas to others. And they think they don't have the time or money to produce them. Or they think somebody else should do it, not me. Nature doesn't think about time or money when an acorn drops to the ground. It doesn't compare itself to anything. When called upon to create a tree out of a tiny acorn, it just says yes. Wharton Esherick was a failed painter that discovered wood. And in doing so, he founded an entire art movement. His creativity inspired me to create. And sometimes it was hard and frustrating, and there were times I wanted to give up, but I kept going. And eventually, the acorn became a tree. The lesson I learned in making this film is that it's not up to us which seeds of creativity come into our lives, but it's incumbent upon us to nurture them. Our creativity inspires others. Wharton made furniture. I make movies. You can make anything if you just say, yes. Yes, yes. Let me leave you with this quote from American author and theologian Frederick Buechner. The life I touch for good or ill will touch another life, and in turn another, until who knows where the trembling stops or in what far place my touch will be felt. The next time a seed of an idea comes into your life, I hope you say yes. Thank you.